So it's been a whole thing. I haven't had the mower here at the studio, and trying to get this place mowed has been a nightmare. And I finally got it back, so I was excited to go mow, right? So I pop my AirPods in. Man, the music's just not sounding right. My phone had just done an update, last night. And I realized it was because my phone keeps switching them after every single update by default to spatial audio. Not just that, but my laptop was on spatial audio. My iPad was on spatial audio. This is what's pissing me off about Atmos. I've talked about Atmos before. I've had Warren David on, and he talks about Atmos and the possibilities in the industry. I've went and experienced Atmos in person, and frankly, I'm excited about what it could be. I know it's a hot button issue with people saying that it's unobtainable for a normal audience, and that may be true, but some of the arguments are that people would never listen in a $100,000 room, so why put an Atmos room in a studio? Well, I would counter that with most people aren't listening to mixes we put out in recording studios or even on speakers. So why have recording studios? But that's another video for another time. I think the possibilities of Atmos are really exciting. I think there's very cheap ways in. I think some of the arguments on both sides are a little silly. I have experienced it in a stupid expensive room, and it was an experience. I'll say that. I have experienced it in a sub $3,000 room, which is cheaper than my room by a lot. And it was great. The possibilities of Atmos and the possibilities of prosody and connecting songwriting to this immersion that we've never been able to experience in music before, I think is cool. The stuff that's not cool is the BS that's happening on the sidelines. And I think it starts here, frankly. This, I think, is gonna be the main way that this stuff's gonna be consumed. Because the head tracking on these is pretty staggering. And when I want to listen to an Atmos mix, it's actually pretty cool. Is it perfect? No. No. But if this is where the technology is now, I can only imagine where it's heading. And I think we would be silly to not see some type of future for that down the road. All that aside, what I listen to and the mixes that I expect as an engineer when I'm putting these on is not the immersive mix. That shouldn't be the default. That should be my choice to go into that. I think that's pretty sneaky, because just by updating my phone, and I clearly love Apple, everything I have, I wonder how loud that is when I just drop this on the desk. Everything I have is Apple. I love the Apple ecosystem, but this turning stuff on by default just to push numbers, it's not helping anybody's case here. Anybody who says they like LaCroix is lying. Now listen, I don't pretend to know how to start a blossoming industry in the correct way. There's gonna be speed bumps along the way. Nobody's perfect. Not even large multi-billion-dollar companies are not perfect. And this is not me being an apologist for the company either. I think it's dumb what they're doing as far as forcing us into a listening experience that we didn't sign up for and we didn't expect. Because the other piece of this, the reason I'm mad, I have no idea how many of you out there are listening to some of my mixes in a spatial audio context, because it'll turn anything into spatial audio. And the ones that aren't made for it don't really sound that great. So I just find it delightful that some of my mixes could possibly be listened to out there, not in the way that I intended them to binaurally, but in a spatial algorithm that, when it's not fed the proper file, is not really spitting out the right thing. And then besides all that, I'm now one of the statistics of people who Apple could then turn around and say, look how many people are now listening to immersive audio. This is where the industry's going. I don't necessarily disagree with them, but I think the methods and how they're getting to that result are pretty Because here's the thing, as engineers, as musicians, as bands, we expect our product to be delivered the way that we intended it to be. And the rules are changing, that's fine. Industries change. We have to be able to adapt to it. However, I don't want to be tricked into it. I feel like those who are willing to learn are going to be the ones to blossom in this. And maybe the industry kind of splits for a minute. That maybe those who do go down the Atmos road, there will be a niche market for that. Just like any other market that comes out. I mean, there's a market for vinyl. Why won't there be a market for Atmos? Even if it does end up being this crazy niche portion of the industry. But it will be there. And the fact that everything's digital means that it's literally just a switch away. I could be listening to the traditional left-right, and then I could be listening to the spatial. That's really, really cool and really, really handy. But when all these switches are flipped for people who don't really know what they're hearing, they're now just experiencing this product that has been slaved over. And we've been, sharing mix notes with artists like crazy to get this absolutely perfect and to represent the product that they're proud of. And to get to the mix that is just exactly what we want to send out into the world. And then without knowing it, the end user is then listening to it in a way that's not just not what they intended, but it's not flattering at all. I am not against industries changing. I think the reason this is so frustrating for me is that I see an artistic value to Atmos. Whether or not that lines up with consumer trends and whether or not that makes sense from a financial perspective, that's a whole different discussion. I see the artistic value in Atmos. Part that seems so counterintuitive to this is that it seems like things are trying to be inflated in certain areas. The only thing this is doing is feeding into the people who say that Atmos is a cash grab. And it gets conspiracy theorist, and I think something like this is like falling into that trap really, really easy. So I'm watching some videos being put out by some people out there that it's a little far-fetched. We'll just say that. Being in the industry and getting to talk to some of those individuals, I tend to believe that people aren't as evil as you would think. But however, it's easy to get on a platform and talk total crap and feed ideas, and then we're tossing around basically conspiracy theories within our own industry. I think that side of it's pretty stupid. This crap isn't helping any. And the bummer is, like, these headphones sound pretty darn good. These AirPods sound pretty darn good. Apple Music is pretty cool. I've been using Apple Music. For some reason, Spotify just isn't offering those higher quality files, and I'm getting that at Apple Music, and I could tell a difference. Or even YouTube Music, but the algorithm and music discovery side of it isn't necessarily the same, which is kind of a bummer. We're getting off track here. All that to say, I like what Apple's doing in a whole lot of ways. The deceptive piece of it, I think, is going to end up hurting more than helping. That needs to stop. What can we do now? Tell all of your clients, all of your artists, to get on their devices and turn off spatial audio by default. Of course, if you want to be listening to spatial audio, it's there as an option, but it should not be on. Shouldn't be on. And this is coming from somebody who likes to listen to spatial audio. It definitely should not be the default. This not scripted video was brought to you by me. Hit that subscribe button. I'm Resident Loser Jeremy. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully not in spatial audio.